Hey guys, it's Chris here from Chris's Creative Life, and I design workshops that help you create beautiful projects from start to finish with easy to follow guides. And I'm finally here to create the April perpetual calendar insert. That's like a big mouthful to say. So I'm just going to show you the one I did last year, and I'm going to remind you what March looked like and then tell you what I'm going to do next. So just let me put you down on my desk so that we can see what is going on a little bit better. I'm going to put myself up into the corner. Here we go. Okay, so last year was when I started the perpetual calendar series. So I did a series of them last year, and they kind of featured the months of the year stamp sets. So actually April was a super fun one. This is vellum, and I used a super fun technique to create the like watercolory background here, which actually I think I might revisit soon for a different project coming up. Just gonna pull this up in front of me so that if you guys have any questions, I can see. But the easiest way, if you wanted to actually watch this April one, is it's on my YouTube channel. And there's actually a series of videos that, like I've linked them into a playlist. So you can actually watch them in like succession. So, okay, just here we go. Okay. So, but this was last year. Like I said, it was super fun with some vellum and the months of the year for April. So this year, because I really actually enjoyed this a lot, I gave it as a gift. My ones from last year, like obviously kept some for myself. But so this year, I wanted to play around a little bit with the SVGs from close to my heart that were the months of the year, which are a great value. If you purchase, you could singly purchase just that month, or you could purchase them as a bundle. It's totally up to you. So this was the one I created for March. And then when I was creating this, I got this crazy idea. What if I did a layout page to match it? So there's actually a downloadable sketch if you haven't downloaded it already. If you comment March, then I'll come back and I'll add the link where you can grab the download. So it's a one-page layout, but it houses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photos. So it's just like a little capsule of what happened in March. So my plan is I'm actually going to take, once we do the April perpetual calendar, so you could see how it matched, right? So the insert for the calendar is the same design principle as the title for the month, right? So I'm going to do one page a month for the year. So this page will be on my left hand side, and it's like a capsule of March. So once we do the calendar page today, then it will dictate what April is going to look like. So I'm actually going to use the same sketch. So if you need the sketch, just type March and I'll come back and add the link in where you can download the sketch. But it's going to be in reverse because it'll be on the other side of the layout of the album, right? So today I'm going to take the April SVG and we're going to turn it into a perpetual calendar, and then I'm going to turn it into a layout, not today, but later this week. So I grabbed some stuff here. That's what March looks like. So you guys can help me decide which of these we're going to use, but it's not time yet. Okay. And so I haven't done anything other than literally cut out the pieces. So I took the SVG, I sized it for what I feel is the right size for the perpetual calendar. And I'll just tell you what, so I use the mix-ins on the other single page. So I want this one to match, right? So I used the mix-ins on this one also, because this is going to dictate what our April layout looks like, right? So I created this really cute umbrella with papers from the mix-in. So we're going to put that together. So this is like, I put a black frame on my umbrella. I'm going to have to glue it all together, but I've got some lagoon, some nectarine, and then I quite liked in March when I used the holographic paper in the background here, because it just kind of shines just a little bit. So this is actually the sunbeam. So we're going to use that as the background layer here for April. And then I used the white pearl paper again for the title April. So, and how cute is it that the little circle on the top of the R also forms the dot on the top of the I. So that is pearl paper. And if you haven't cut with it on your Cricut, it cuts beautifully. Okay, so here's the background of our umbrella, and then we have a layer of lemonade. But first thing we need to do is I need to create something here on the background. So if you look at this SVG, there's the little raindrops, and I've got my raindrops right here. They are cut out of Dreamy holographic paper. So I'm just going to put them down here for later. Those are going to be fun to kind of figure out where they go. So I just have one of the blank perpetual calendars, right? And we're going to create a background. But you can see in the background here, there are the raindrops. So I added the raindrops just onto a rectangle. And I'm going to do a little distressing on my background here first. So I've got my all-purpose mat so that I have less mess, because I actually just cleaned off my desktop. Not that you would even know it, but that's okay. So I grabbed Glacier ink. So because I've got Lagoon going on here, but when I do the page later, I have picked out one of the Lagoon patterns. So I know when I go to add my month in here, like this, but it's going to go the opposite way, right? And I want to use this paper with animal print that I want Lagoon to be on the layout, right? So I'm going to do some ink distressing here on the background. So like I said, I just have Glacier, and I have a sponge just with a little piece of cardstock on it with the name. I have a whole tub, and I actually had to dump them out to find my Glacier one. I thought you could see here, because I was just practicing to see if I was gonna like this, and I must have grabbed mint because it's very green. So this is what I'm gonna kind of do on my background here, and then we're gonna lay everything else on top. And you can help me decide if I should add the wild berry ribbon on the top and bottom, or if we should add the lemonade shimmer trim. So you guys can decide as we go which we should accent the top and bottom with. Both fit, I checked before. So we can put the wild berry across the top. Good morning, Gay. And bottom, or the shimmer trim. So you guys think about it while we go. So this is lemonade. Yeah. It looks very pale in shimmer trim versus when, like in the cardstock. So I'm just going to ink up my sponge, and I am going to, I always have a little like scratch piece of paper. So I just kind of tap it off so that I know I have ink and kind of how much ink I have. So then I'm just going to, because I want this soft in the background, and then I'm going to use those raindrops and make them a little bit darker on top. So I'm going to fill in my whole area here. So every time I just kind of tap it off and I add a little bit more ink until I get it kind of the color that I want, right? So I did this one with, I think, mustard seed, right? So it's the Distress Oxide, but I wanted a subtler look in the background. So you could kind of see what's going to happen here, right? This is how it's going to go. The month is going to go there. So I just kind of want to see how far I'm going to bring it down. And you could keep adding. It just depends on how dark you want it. And my sponge, I actually think we're going to need a new glacier sponge here before I do the layout page. So it kind of just looks like clouds. I didn't want to do, you know, the technique where I could add like the stencil on top and make the clouds, because I really wanted to play up kind of the April showers theme. Okay, so I think here is that sunbeam layer. So this is the biggest layer. So I just gonna add just a little bit more at the bottom. It's funny because it looks so different on the camera versus in real life. So you can just buff it out as much as you want and play around with it as much as you want. Okay, so then, like I said, I took those raindrops and I just created a stencil with this white daisy paper. Now, I know that this is probably something I'm not going to use 100 times, so I've just cut it out of white daisy. You can totally cut a stencil out of white daisy. It does make a difference, though. You just have to remember that this is not as thick as like a piece of stencil fabric. Well, plastic, I guess, not really fabric. Stencil material, maybe I'll say. So when you're using this, you are closer to your background. So it's like, and I could just move it around because I also didn't worry about having 800 raindrops, right? I just kind of wanted it subtle in the background. So can you just see those few that we've got going to start off with? And I know that lots of this will get covered up. And I could just move it kind of around in and use the raindrops that I want to use. And then I could just kind of pick it up and you could see how much is on there. So I don't want them to be the same. So I'm kind of trying to make them random because, of course, when it's raining, it's actually random, right? But I don't want to do this one all the way down here because that's in the lines. So you could see it just kind of starting to come together. So I'll just do some up here at the top. I'm just moving it around. Because like I said, if I wanted to use it over and over and over again, I could just cut it out of stencil fabric. Plastic. I don't know why I keep calling it fabric. But I can use this for as many times as I'm going to use this. This is fine. I'll use this one too on the layout when I do the single page layout. Okay, so I know I want a few more up here. So I think I'm going to go like that. And you typically end up with more ink through your stencil than you think you have. But you can always check, right? So I just kind of want, like, doesn't that look super cool? I just kind of wanted it to look like it is raining in the background. And I'm just going to actually add a little bit more ink to these three so that they kind of match the other ones. And I just laid it back down on top of the same spot, or as close to it as possible. So there we go. Okay, so we'll just test the background and see what I think. Okay, so I think I might put a few more down here. So don't forget, I'm going to put the holographic raindrops on the actual April. So I don't need like a ton of these, but I do want a few more. Maybe right here. And then I'm going to do these two right here, just kind of in the middle there. So I'm sure that there, I think that's good. So just like that is how I'm thinking, but I think I need a little bit more up here. So I'm going to do some that actually go off the page, so you don't notice the actual pattern of them. And I knew I wanted this to, the SVG cutout to fill a lot of my space. So I made it as big as I could. So here we go. I think that's enough raindrops now. So let's start putting some stuff together here. Oh, I've got flying raindrops. So also included with SVG, you get like a PDF that you can print out. So if you need to use it for reference, you can. So I am going to, you see how they've added a few layers and then the umbrella kind of goes behind just the P. We'll do that same thing. But first thing I'm going to do is actually put my umbrella together. So I made the background just black. And I thought we could try this, and if I don't like it, I'll switch it up for the layout. And then, like I said, I have some of the pieces from the mix-ins, which is super cute. So this is Nectarine, and it's got the little tiny dashed lines across, dotted lines across it. So I'm going to add that onto the background. Okay, and then I have the cute little lagoon dots. So we'll add that. We're supposed to get like a ton of rain tomorrow, so I might need an umbrella. Not that we've actually completely defrosted yet, but okay, so how cute is that? I think I want this little umbrella. Okay, and then I just have the top layer to glue down. So I'm just going to use liquid glass because I'm actually out of glue dots, or I could have used glue dots. But so instead of the Dreamy holographic paper, I also could have used liquid glass on cardstock to make the raindrops more shiny too, right? Okay. So there's our little umbrella. I'm just gonna set this aside to dry. So I'm just gonna put a block on it for literally just a few seconds and then we're good. So I'm gonna adhere my, okay, it says it started raining here yesterday and the rain for next week every day. Yes, our ground is saturated right now. Ooh. So, oh my goodness, now everything's falling off my desk. So we are potential flood situation. So we need it to either not rain or the end of the snow to melt slowly, which I will say, this is super, super late for us to still have snow. Apparently yesterday we still had ground cover that was like 5 centimeters, which is apparently like, it's unheard of. I don't ever remember it being like this. So as much as I would like some April showers, not just yet. Okay, so this is the Sunbeam holographic. And I just want to make sure that I get some of it peeking out below and some above. Okay, and then might have to turn your heaters on for the first time. Yikes. Well, I will tell you, I actually have 2 windows cracked in my house today because I was just dying for some fresh air. Okay, so then this is Lemonade. We just had floods a few weeks ago. Yeah, it's crazy how quickly things can change. So, okay. So it's funny because me and my 2 sisters, our birthdays are all 3 weeks apart. So there's 2 of us in April. I'm first, and then my second sister is actually her birthday's on Earth Day, and then my third sister is in May. And the one that was in May always used to joke about how, like when we were younger, about how April showers bring May flowers, right? So she would always say her birthday was in a much better month than ours. So, hopefully we have some flowers, but we're almost in May and we still have snow cover. So I'm not thinking we're going to have May flowers. We'll be lucky to have June flowers at this rate. Okay. So now I'm just going to place my umbrella, and my umbrella is going to be slightly different than theirs because my space is obviously slightly different, and I didn't actually even think about that before I started. But I'm just going to kind of lay this out and decide here if this is good, and I think it's actually pretty good. So that's where I'm going to adhere my umbrella. So I'm just going to tuck it in right there. And then we have these raindrops that are going to overlap. So some of them, because there's one like right there, we'll just decide if that's where we're going to put it or not. Because I don't want it way over there. I want it over here. So I just want to make sure though that the bottom gets covered up with that piece so it doesn't look like the umbrella is just floating in the air. So I think I'm going to use, though, thin. It's funny, this looks super green on camera, but it is totally, it's the Sunbeam, so it's yellow in real life. And I think it maybe is picking up a little bit of the lagoon coloring and the glacier in the background. That might be why it looks a little green on camera. So I'm just going to add thin 3D foam tape to the pearl cardstock, and because I don't want it super thick because it's a perpetual calendar, right? So they all get stacked on top of each other. But I do like a little bit of dimension probably on everything that, sorry, I moved my garbage can, need it back there. Everything I create somewhere. So that is where I'm going to put it. So like I said, it's just the thin 3D foam tape. So, and this is the thinner width. There's 2 widths. When you get them, you get the 2 together. So this is just the thinner width. And I'll just cut a few little pieces for the A there, which might be tedious to watch. But I'm just going to support it in a few spots. So that's the nice part though about the pieces of tape. You can cut them to whatever width you would like. So, but I think this is going to be cute. And then I have started gathering my pieces for the April layout. So if you need the sketch, if you don't have the sketch for the March layout, which I'm going to use to create the April one, if you just comment March, I'll come back and I'll add the link where you can download the file from. So here we go. So that's what this is going to look like. I'll just add, while I have it on my finger, we'll finish it off here. My doodle is in her chair beside my desk snoring this afternoon, just gently. Having her afternoon nap. Okay. So, here we go. Okay, so do you guys think we should do the Wildberry ribbon or the Lagoon shimmer trim? So one is going to really stand out and the other is just going to kind of blend in. So on March, I added the gold glitter paper. So they're just two different looks. One is subtle and one is going to give it a pop. Oh, these little skinny pieces. Just there we go. Okay. So I'm just centering it as best I can. And then, okay, so I can see a little bit of the end of the umbrella sticking out. So I'm just going to trim it just a little bit so that you can't see it, just because it's in a different spot. So there we go. Okay, so now I need to add these holographic raindrops in here. So these ones were tiny, at least the ones for the layout are a little bit bigger. So I can see there's a big one down here. So, and it's fun, the little holographic on the holographic paper, right? It just kind of gives it a different look. So I'm just going to use, I think, liquid glass to adhere these. There we go. So I'm going to put the big ones in first, I think, and then I can kind of maneuver around the little ones if I want to change them out. So this one, the one on top is the Dreamy, and it's actually super pretty, the two on top of each other. Okay, so then there's another big one over here. And then there's a big one over here. Right here on here. And then we've got one right there. So you can see how this reference kind of comes in handy. Now, the other thing I could actually do is Oh, up here. I was starting to lose my train of thought there. If I was lost as to where the raindrops actually went, I could always take this overlay and lay it back down. And I know like this is the edge, right? So then you could actually just pop the raindrops back in, because this is actually the same pattern, right? So if you were worried about them getting back in exactly the right spot, that is always an option. So there's a big one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, here's another one up there. And then in our background, right, kind of you get to play around with it. And I think they'll look nice against the little glacier ones we have just lying around there too. So, okay, so now I have these smaller ones to add in. So there's one down here. Okay. So, and then there's one close to the umbrella. And that's, I just gonna have to decide if that's just gonna look a little bit funny. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually tuck it underneath. So, right, because our umbrella is not in the spot. So there, I'm just gonna tuck that underneath. But I just have a little bit, there we go. So that one. Okay, so now I'm going to add a few more up the top there. And which is actually funny because I didn't actually get a lot of the stenciling up there. So that kind of worked out well. Okay. So we have 3 up here. You could also, something else that would be really cute is you could use like sequins in the spots of the raindrops. Okay, so these two are actually over here, but I think I have lots of raindrops over there. So I'm actually going to add them over here because now I get another little texture to go with my ink over here. Okay, and then my last one. Okay, so there we go for that. And then I just have to put my little decoration on the top and bottom. So last year when I did it, I used all the little border stamps that were in those months of the year. But this one, I used the little gold. So I was thinking this might be really cute on here at the top and at the bottom. So I have my little ribbon scissors. So these aren't the non-stick scissors, they're the other ones. And I'm going to use some of the little, some of the red tape adhesive because it's good and strong for the ribbon. And I'm just going to add it, I think, on the top and bottom so that it's kind of contrasts nicely versus blending in. Like when you look at the lemonade, it's kind of just blends right in. So I'm going to go for the little pop of color, I think. So Just need to find the end here. There we go. And I'm gonna just add this with the tape. Now I'm gonna cut the adhesive though with my all-purpose scissors. And then I'm gonna just make sure it's down nicely on my ribbon. So I'm just going to push it down with my bone folder to make sure that it kind of sticks there. Okay, so then I'm gonna just peel up the back. So the red part off. So once I stick this down, it is not gonna move. And then I'm just gonna trim it off the edges. So it's on my all-purpose mat, so it's not gonna stick. And I can just add this right along the top edge. So this is the wild berry ribbon, which wild berries are color of the year, and I have a super cute wild berry workshop. So I'm just going to now push it down with my bone folder so that that adhesive is stuck on there well, and I'll tell you that is good and stuck. So these are the scissors that I use for my ribbon. I'm just going to trim it off on the edges. So just like that. And it's nice, it lies pretty straight, the grosgrain. Okay, so then we'll just do the same thing on the bottom. And if I was worried about it fraying, I can just add a little liquid glass to either side. So same thing. The wild berry's so pretty. Okay, so push it down. So I got a good stick there, and I can just pull it off with my tweezers. Hard to see the edge of the red edge on the wild berry. I probably should have put just a little bit extra instead of just making it the same width or length. There we go. Okay. So I'll just show you what I would do on the edges to seal it so it doesn't fray. So I'm just going to flip it over, right, and trim it off. And then here I can just add just the tiniest little bit of liquid glass just on the edge. Nobody will ever see it once it's dry. And it just seals kind of everything in there. So I do have like the precision tip on here. So it'll be a little bit shiny until it dries, but it would just be the stitching that might pop out. So that way I just know that it's gonna stay in there. Okay, so I had more glue than I needed coming out there. Okay, guys, so that is April calendar. And like I said, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do my April layout tomorrow. So it will, so here's, oh my goodness, all the backs from my adhesive. Let's get that off my desk here. It's all staticky. So there's the March and there's April. So you can see, because of what I was doing here, the April is much bigger than the March, because the March was all about creating the background and having fun with the distress oxides and the stickles, right? But here I was really playing up the image of the umbrella and the raindrops, right? So the background is just lightly set in there with glacier ink, and then using the stencil of literally the raindrops cut out of White Daisy, I created a stencil there to lay the raindrops in the background. We put together a little umbrella. We added our ribbon. So that is how the April insert turned out. So I'll show you the March. I'm going to keep this because I'm going to use this for when we do the layout. So, like I said, here's how then the coordinating, so I'm going to do it this way though. So this is the layout then I made using this as my inspiration, right, for the layout. And don't forget, if you need the sketch, if you just comment March, I'll come back and I'll send you the download link to get it. So this is the April insert, and we're going to now have a coordinating page on this side. So it'll be a single page on this side that'll be the highlights for April. And I'm going to take that sketch and reverse it, right, so that it faces the other way. So we'll have the 2 months side by side. So my plan is just to create just like kind of a fun little album that's just kind of snapshots of the month and everything that happened in the month. So obviously I have tons more photos from from March or April or whatever, but this is kind of just the highlights or some funny things or some stories that I want to tell from that month. So that's what I've got for you guys today, like I said, and I'll be back and we'll put together the April page. Talk to you later, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.